guys. Alright, so thank you for tuning in during the video. I got a freaking case kind of like update for a study topic today. It was actually a good one. So I was asked like a bunch of questions pertaining towards case custody standards and transferring the custody case to a different jurisdiction and the standards I would follow in doing so. One second, let me see if I can switch my freaking camera flow and match a decent lighting flow for a bud. It's a tad later in the day as opposed to the time that I normally would shoot a video, so it's like the freaking lighting level, it's like at the midpoint. Let's see, I literally was just like, from the parameters that I know, from the cases that I have studied, most cases are set within the jurisdiction in which in criminal law cases, the jurisdiction in which the crime was committed, and dissolution and separation cases, in the jurisdiction in which you resided within for a set period of time, and where your marriage took place or so. So it's like, I'm not completely sure. I'm gonna have to literally do some research into this topic and figure out the basis for it. And in doing so, I was able to find some great freaking insight pertaining towards transferring custody cases and having set jurisdictions pertaining towards the custody. Let's see, oh gosh, one sec, you guys. My freaking kitty knocked out my freaking copy makes me user-friendly freaking sign that's right above my butt. But I was like, alright, so let's see if I can find some freaking insights. So I did find a decent bit covering the topic at hand. So I'm gonna go through a few notes, bits, and give you guys some of my freaking great freaking snippets that I was able to find. And with it being a freaking 3-page breakdown, this is actually gonna be a short freaking video. To initiate the transfer of a family law case to another county, you must file the necessary paperwork within the court in which it is currently filed. So, in transferring a case, once you've set the custody case to, take place. So when picking the jurisdiction and the area in which you are going to initially file the case, you have to initiate the transfer process to have the case transferred to a new jurisdiction. Let's see. This generally involves filing and submitting a motion for change of venue, and this pertains towards the California region. And then I'll touch base a tad more towards the region in which I was asked upon because I believe it's an Indiana case. So I literally added in some snippets for our California locals and a few snippets for the Arizona case that literally inspired this video. And as the other notion, so this is for a motion of change of venue pertaining towards California family law and providing a supporting declaration. The next section is going to cover 7 mistakes that can cost you a custody battle. So in going through custody battles, it's great to adhere to the literal parameters of what the case is going to entail, what you must be doing to represent yourself throughout the case, standards that you have to be prepared for, and legal aspects to be mindful of while doing so. So these 7 mistakes that can cost you in a custody battle include custody cases. Now this one is kind of a notion towards the feeling throughout. So it's a notion that custody cases are emotionally fraught, difficult for people involved, and can be very expensive. So in going through the process, it's very expensive. You have to do legal court filings. You have to freaking oftentimes have lawyers involved if it's kind of one of those major things where you really need that legal backing to literally have somebody fight the case for you and literally help you with creating this case and then developing the backing for how you are to represent yourself, conduct yourself, legal proceedings as you work through the case, and to also kind of ensure that you have the best representation throughout the case, because as we become a more progressive age, The parameters of the legal custody typically being placed within the favor of the mother is now set to the standard of a father can literally become the freaking legal custodial parent within a custody battle due to the parameters of the other parent being deemed more fit or matching the standards of the needs of the child more. And in a lot of cases, it's it can get messy. You literally have to prove, the fault of the other. Then in doing so, it kind of causes a straining relationship. It's stressful on both of you individually, and it's stressful on the children also. So you have to be mindful in working through the cases to literally cover your bases by, oh gosh. Alright, so I'm going to read through a few of these and see if they touch base on the major notions for preparing yourself for the case itself, preparing yourself to win and represent yourself to the best way possible. Let's see, as stated by the user who wrote the breakdown for this next portion, they stated, in my experience, parents make the following mistakes during this process, which ultimately harms their position with the third-party professionals involved with their case and ultimately the court. Number 1. Inappropriate communications with your spouse. Remember the 3 F's: friendly, factual, and firm. No matter how difficult this may be, it's important to maintain respectful communications with your spouse, both verbally and written. So in your written correspondences, in your verbal conversations that you have during your casual day-to-day interactions, or through your conversations on, via phone and throughout the court proceedings, you want to be mindful of how you address each other, because all of this is going to set the basis on the tone for your communication standards throughout the case, how messy it's going to get, how you guys are going to feel towards each other after the case, during, and it's going to be a reflection upon your relationship with your children also. Number 2, being inflexible. Ultimately, changes in parenting plans should always reflect what's in the best interest of your child. That may sometimes conflict with what you may want. For instance, your child's participation in a family activity with your spouse may interfere with your own parenting time. A parent who is willing to put the child first is a parent who is considered to be capable of co-parenting effectively and have good judgment. So, in working to set a standard within your relationship and put the needs of your child first, it truly helps you to kind of create that relationship with your partner in which you guys are able to co-parent without feeling as though it'll be too overwhelming for you and your children also. So in doing so, you want to work to create stability within your relationship and create a stable transfer of, so in working through standards such as transportation, visitation, and doing freaking events together, you want to make sure that you have that flow where it's you guys can communicate, there isn't an awkward energy within the environment, and you feel as though each of you are represented and that you are heard within the relationship also. And it's going to help you to really create the best atmosphere for the child as it grows and develops. Number 3, not keeping a journal. It's important to self-document what is happening in your family during a custody dispute. Is your spouse constantly late for or missing parenting time? Do your children or teachers report things to you that are troubling? For evidentiary purposes, your journal should reflect incidents as they occur on a relatively contemporaneous basis. So you should keep a log of events that take place. If you have parents, other parents, or freaking teachers reporting to you and giving you updates that there is a bunch of troubling aspects that are taking place throughout your child's life, such as art projects that are a bit more graphic than usual, their changes in demeanor, how they interact with others, if they are more reserved than usual, If when asked about you and how their weekend has been, how is like their life going, and aspects as such, when they provide answers that are kind of like troubling or like really just in depth but are kind of just out of the norm, you kind of have to note aspects such as that and figure out, are they aspects that you can work upon, or are they aspects that the relationship that you have with your co-parenting partner are kind of setting the basis for the troubling aspects that are kind of festering within your child and changing and setting the mood and tone for how your child feels throughout the development process and throughout the case's proceedings and throughout the conclusion also. Also, you're going to want to keep documentation of everything throughout your case. This is going to set the basis for understanding every aspect that is going to pertain towards setting the grounds for having evidence, setting the grounds for the basis for the need for the separation, but the arrangement for the custody parameters. So if you're setting it to be a legal battle where you literally want it to be a joint parenting thing, if you want it to be a single parenting situation where you literally want the rights of the other to be completely taken away, and because they are just deemed like so freaking dangerously unfed, and you want it to be a sole parenting side, or one where you work with your partner but as the main parent who is the, so you'll be the overall custodial parent and the other will be the non-custodial parent, and in doing so there is the standard where either you can work towards having an agreement where you guys work to kind of like have a plan by communicating throughout your relationship, and there's a set basis where a court can decide upon the proper terms of your custody agreement. And there are a lot of standards to choose from, so it's always great to do research. I covered a few of them in the custodial, non-custodial parental rights and proceedings video. And it's always great, as I always say in every video, to do some additional research to also just cover like all the parameters that you may be curious about, such as the different standards of, custody rights, setting these standards for custodial parents and non-custodial parents and co-parenting relationships, and the custody parameters, visitation parameters, and everything that falls within that aspect. It's really great information. There are a bunch of key points to literally just like search up and literally gain some insight pertaining towards aspects such as, what will be the best terms of vegetation, scheduling, and just working towards having a set basis that's conducive for the relationship that you share with your partner, and one that will also be most conducive for the life that is set to be the most conducive for your child in the case of who is placed and granted the rights as the custodial parent. Number 4, not paying support obligations despite inability to pay. If there are court orders in place, pay them during a custody case unless you do not have an ability to pay, and in that case, a modification motion must be filed. So in working through a case, having the obligations that must be paid throughout your case, they have to be set as a priority. You will get hit with excessive fines later. They will also set the basis for contempt, and as I covered in the custodial and non-custodial parental rights and procedures videos, it sets the parameter of the aspect of skipping out on child support payments, and in doing so you can be fined, you can be held in contempt and jailed, and you can also freaking have your license like taken and freaking terminated in doing so. So you really want to make sure that you're mindful of the parameters of all the legal obligations throughout the case, and that you work to manage any fines that may take place. That way, all of your aspects that must be covered are covered throughout the case. Not communicating with your child's school and medical care providers. You do not need to be the classroom parent or volunteer, But make sure you are on the school list, serve and receive important communications from your child's teachers, be aware of how to check the status of grades and homework online. In terms of medical care, again, you do not need to be the parent who routinely takes your child to medical appointments, but follow up with the medical care provider. Make sure you are an emergency contact and understand any special needs and issues. So, work with your medical care teams, your educational teams, and be active within your child's life. In doing so, you'll be kept up to date on your child's development, aspects to be mindful of. As like we each know, when you take your child to the freaking doctor, you're literally able to literally gain insight on your child's development, aspects that maybe you kind of must be more mindful of, and that you literally have to freaking work to like create a new plan that you like literally were like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about that. And now that you know about a new aspect, you have to work towards creating a guided plan for your child, and in doing so, it sets a parameter for their life and like following that. Getting freaking updates on your child's freaking health and development also helps you consistently plan towards, you know, your child's growth patterns, sticking to the nutritional plans that are working for them currently, and in working to handle that aspect. It's great because a lot of us, we were freaking kids that always had our favorite freaking things that we love to eat, but there was always a set basis of, you know, mom is making these freaking set meal plans, and it's like, you know, what if I don't like any like aspect of it, you know, can I just kind of like take out the freaking like vegetables, like what if I don't want to do vegetables? But it's like, you know, the work the work of a parent is freaking set towards, you know, reminding your kid, you know, vegetables are good for you, they're freaking healthy, they're going to help you grow and be strong. And in learning later in life, we freaking learn that, you know, those vegetables contain like key freaking minerals and freaking nutrients that we really freaking needed for development, that are essential to our body's freaking growth patterns. So, in working with your children to find guided health plans, such as, you know, finding like your kid loves chicken nuggets, working with brands that literally offer chicken nuggets. They're the new healthier versions with the freaking like added veggies mixed into them. So it's like, you know, even my kid loves to eat chicken nuggets and like French fries all the time. You know, we can do like maybe chicken nuggets and French fries for like maybe 3 out of like the 7 days of the freaking week during the freaking busy like weekday schedule, and then we can bring and add it in for the freaking lunch schedule. That way, it's something that's easy to make and really freaking yummy that you know your kid is gonna be like, heck freaking yeah, like love you freaking like parent. And then in doing so, they get that freaking great basis of that freaking like yummy freaking snack that you picked out for them that is set to be healthy also. And you just kind of set a basis for creating a well-rounded health and well-being focused environment for not only you but your child as they develop throughout life, which is freaking awesome in itself. And for school and educational aspects, you really want to be mindful on how your child is developing, being an active parent throughout the freaking studies, showing support, creating that drive and motivation for your child to feel. So school isn't kind of one of those things that's set to be a chore. It's not set to be something that's like, you know, taking away from their day. You want them to be mindful that it's an aspect of their life that is set to prepare them for the future. And in preparing them for the future, it will give them the freaking knowledge that they need to be mindful on so many freaking aspects in life, and working with them to understand how much school has benefited you in life will literally help them in understanding that there's that connection and flow that they can relate to you on so many terms. And even though as our curriculums constantly develop and we add in new aspects and make it even more freaking more interesting and more freaking geared towards prevailing our next generation of children even farther beyond the points that we were at their age, it's freaking great to still like remind your kids, you know, I could bring work with you on like literally nearly every freaking aspect. Math aspects are always constantly changing, so there are always new formulas. So a lot of times we typically like will like help out and freaking bring up like old formulas, but in doing so, you can always freaking check online freaking resources and find the freaking formulas to work with your kids on, and then in doing so, you can work with your kid and they can freaking explain the formula to you. You can work with the freaking information that's provided, and with you working with the information that's provided, your kid explaining the formula to you, so you have that other basis of it, you kind of put it together, and then in doing so, you kind of get to either like try a hit or miss freaking flow of literally working with your child to create a way to freaking break down this problem and provide the answer, or you can literally end up just making a complete freaking new freaking version of a math equation and breaking it down with a new answer that may be a tad off but sets the basis for the attempt. And then in doing so, it sets that basis for you being active in your child's life. You always want to, number one, encourage them. Number two, be active. Number three, set the basis for being that source for them to always go to whenever they feel as though they're overwhelmed with any aspect. And number four, have freaking fun and make it a fun aspect for your child also. And overall, just set a freaking basis for incorporating yourself within their life in a way that is not overbearing. You don't want to feel like you're overly hovering within their freaking life, but in being an active part of their life, you do want it to be a set basis where you are welcomed into the aspects in which you are seeking to become a part of, and then in doing so, you'll get the approval of your child because you're actually setting that basis to do so in a conducive way. And you want to set the tone to be something that's not super freaking awkward or super weird, but you want to set the basis as, I want to be an active part in your life. I want you to know that I'm always here for you. And even if you're feeling as though you literally have got every aspect right now, just know that I'm always there for you whenever you freaking need me. And in doing so, you set a basis for that need aspect being acknowledged, and that aspect of wanting to assist and share in the experience being set within that relationship, so that your child knows that you are there, you are present, and that you seek to be an active part of their life in aspects outside of dinner and greetings. Number 6, putting too much information on social media. Don't document your life on social media while going through a custody battle. Post pictures of you with or without your children could impact how professionals involved in your case view your judgment as a parent. So set a basis to conduct yourself as a conducive parent. So if you have a social media account where you literally post, and say, in my case, you're like me and you work as a business owner, or I'd say a freaking brand ambassador, and that's like your major freaking content set, and you have like your separate social media account where you post like family stuff. Separate the major bases and then stick to the consistency flow. If you literally post like pictures of you and your kids like all the time, and they're like moderate, that's our freaking family phone. Then on your business account, it's like a bunch of freaking business aspects, like covering freaking like products and freaking let's see, yeah, like in my like case, it's like products, such as our clothing, advertisements, and we also with the legal aid branch, it's the freaking updates of freaking projects that we're working on, updates pertaining towards my education and growth, and kind of set the basis and the tone for those, but you want to set it to be a conducive professional basis. That way you're reflecting that freaking custodial freaking right that you are seeking, but you also want to reflect that basis of being a parent that is geared towards being mindful of reflecting your aspect of a parent onto your relationship with your child. And then you also don't want to seem like super freaking judgy of others. You don't want to seem like problematic. You don't want to seem like, you're an aggressive person also. You are overly opinionated about aspects that you literally set out there to cause conflict. So in doing so, it sets the freaking tone and the flow for a parent that is working towards setting a conducive tone for the sake of parenting a child. And in doing so, you're working to create the basis of you being more so as a guide and a freaking mindful parent, rather than as somebody who literally is like, I'm a parent, But I'm a parent during the freaking moments that call for parenting to be like the only freaking option, and then in the other moments I'm still just me and I'm living like my best life, but I still want to be like that freaking like main parent in this. And it's like, oh, that's kind of like, handing a freaking child to a freaking random person who's like literally in the midst of freaking kind of like deciding if they want to freaking no, that's like literally handing a child to someone in the midst of going through a midlife crisis that is like not their freaking parent, and going, well, if we're just gonna hand the freaking child off to like anybody who's going through anything in life that should just have the freaking child because they just want to have the freaking child, then we can always just hand the freaking child off to somebody who's going through a midlife crisis that you don't know, and it'll be like the child living with you. They probably feel as though they don't really know you. There's no connection aside from you actually being their parent, and if you're in the midst of freaking going off of the freaking hinges all the time, well, why can't somebody who's going through a midlife crisis, manage this aspect of freaking parenting your child? And then in doing so, it kind of sets a basis of, being more mindful and then setting that tone for understanding others. Because if you work upon yourself and you learn and understand aspects in which you can improve upon within your parameters of being a parent overall, you can work towards creating that well-rounded environment and mindset for your child where they learn to understand aspects of others also and to be more empathetic as they grow. And then in doing so, it teaches them to be a more cautious and mindful individual overall. Not being a good gatekeeper, a parent who constantly criticizes and demeans the other parent in the presence of or directly to the children is inflexible in creating reasonable parenting time for the other parent, and who does not confer with the other parent on important parenting decisions may not consider to be okay, I'm gonna have to switch that one up a bit. May not be considered to be a good gatekeeper. Parents who are not good gatekeepers hinder their own custody case, as a court may not be inclined to award custody to a parent who is seen as alienating the children from the other parent, as opposed to promoting a healthy relationship between the children and the other parent. So that one's kind of covering the breakdown of setting a healthy relationship with your partners. So when ensuring that your child doesn't feel as though their life is set to completely have a new freaking change and shift to it, and in doing so you have to include the other parent and follow the parameters of the agreement in which was set up, and in doing so you can kind of overall you have to work towards setting that basis in which you agreed upon. And if a court decides the final verdict, you have to work with honoring the agreement that was set upon by the judge. And in doing so, you have to work towards having proper communication standards. You can't freaking create a hostile environment for your children, because again, that shows a reflective point of creating that hostile environment for the children where it's not safe, it's not conducive, and it's kind of like, the messy battle of proving which parent sets its flow and its tone and motion throughout each freaking situation. And in doing so, are you endangering the children? Are you affecting their mental well-being and their development throughout? And are you being mindful of the agreement and the set basis that you brought forth to the judge that was stated that you would be working towards reflecting the aspects of that parent who is always mindful of the child, and in putting them in a situation that is dangerous and that really doesn't reflect upon the growth standards required for the child, you're hindering them and setting them to be within an environment where they're gonna be freaking uncomfortable. They're going to freaking have these moments that they'll reflect upon throughout their lives, and you have to freaking remember that you agreed to set a standard of ensuring that that child would literally have everything that they needed throughout that relationship. So you have to work with your partner to create a conducive plan for your children and to create an effective communication standard within your relationship. I just got one freaking second. It's super freaking warm in my room with the freaking sun beaming on me at the moment. So, like, brief hydration secret. Brief about. The UCCJA instructs that jurisdiction rests in the child's home state. Indiana Code 31-21-2-8 defines the home state as a state where the child has lived with a parent or a person acting as a parent for the 6 months before the custody proceedings begin. So the code in Indiana states that overall the court proceedings must be filed within the legal jurisdiction in which you resided with the child for 6 consistent consecutive months. So you kind of have to be mindful of the aspects and parameters pertaining towards that aspect. So you can't literally just decide to like pick another jurisdiction, which was something that I really was like really trying to touch base upon. And then I was like, it's just like, you know, I'm already covering like California cases, and like would it be like the universal standards for this, or should I literally like reflect upon like the said region to see what are the rules and regulations in that area? Because it's like in referencing towards the freaking legal separation and dissolution parameters, it's like, you know, the set jurisdiction, the time frame was set within our region. And then I was like, all right, so let's see what will be the aspects for custody in this region. And the Indiana Code stated the parameters are set for the 6 months period before the court proceedings begin. And that one pertains towards the case that I was actually like freaking asked about that inspired this video, so I'm hoping that it's going to be helpful. So in doing so, you set the basis. So, and I'm going to touch base upon a few more aspects that will be helpful in this case also in just a brief bit. But that one sets the basis for the home area in which you presided within. You have to have lived within that area and have valid proof to back that basis for a minimum of 6 months prior to filing for the court custody proceedings. Most state and local agencies in Indiana have general subject matter jurisdiction, all criminal laws and general geographic jurisdiction. This is not the case for most federal law enforcement agencies. So there are the general subject matter jurisdictions set for all criminal laws and general geographic jurisdictions. This sets the overall jurisdiction standards for court filings to take place within a set given area. And that one I kind of like had to reference back towards my criminal justice standards, because I was like, in studying criminal law, those literally have to be prosecuted within the area in which the crime was committed. So it's like I'm going by the parameters of criminal law, and then the freaking family aspect of like freaking marriage dissolutions and separations, and then throwing in custody with that aspect also. And it was like there are always these set jurisdictions and standards for the court proceedings. So it's always something great to be mindful of. What do judges look for in custody cases in Indiana? The mental and physical health of all individuals involved, evidence of a pattern of domestic or family abuse by either parent, evidence that the child has been cared for by a de facto custodian, and the designation in a power of attorney of the child's parent or de facto custodian. So the major basis is the breakdown for providing the standard for a fit parent. You want to make sure that the child will be in custody of a parent that is the most conducive overall. The parent that is able to care for the needs of the child, and in doing so is also prepared for handling all the day-to-day aspects throughout the child's life. Because California laws grant legal and physical custody to an unmarried birth mother, this means that the mother has the full authority to exercise physical and legal custody rights over the child. The mother is responsible for the child's living arrangements, decisions in education, healthcare, and many other aspects. This is the standard for California law. Now, while researching and getting insight on this one, I was like, let me see if these same standards are reflected in Indiana, and I believe I touched base a brief bit on it. That way I can cover that aspect also to help out with the case that inspired this. What happens if an unmarried couple breaks up with a kid? Children, if two parents who are unmarried and have children together separate, there are different laws that apply regarding child custody. Both parents will have equal rights regarding their children, but the decisions regarding child custody and child support will still need to be determined. So, in doing so, oh gosh, is this one that pertains towards the freaking mother? Okay, so this one sets a standard for both parents having equal rights within the standard of raising the child. Without getting the courts involved, you can agree upon a standard for the basis that won't be set in stone. It'll be more of a he said, she said kind of thing, which is what brings a lot of people to have this case decided within a courtroom, to have everything set in stone, and to have the legal backing pertaining towards getting the freaking child support required for your child, and to also cover the parameters such as custody agreements, visitation rights, and so many other aspects that a legal team can literally work towards creating for you guys and shaping to literally create a conducive relationship for parents. Does the mother... Oh gosh, you guys, I'm like stumbling the heck over my tongue. Does the mother automatically have full custody in California? The answer, A. Mom... Okay, so it actually states, no. Moms do not automatically have full custody in California. Just because someone is deemed a mother does not grant them any specific legal privilege. The state will always prioritize the most advantageous arrangement for a child regardless of a parent's gender. So the set standard of a mother automatically having the right to literally be like the automatic winner of a custody case has been kind of just literally like taking out of the freaking major parameters of 9 times out of 10 we ballpark if the mother will win. These standards are still set as the parent that is most conducive for raising the child in the most fit, caring environment overall. That can also suffice all of the required needs of the child. Custody, physical custody. Identifies. That was such a freaking weird one. I literally did like the breakdown for it, and I like copied over the breaking notes area, and it was like, oh no, yeah. See, I was gonna say maybe it was like a part of the breaking next section that was like broken down before, but no, it literally was like custody, physical custody. This identifies with whom the child resides. The mother automatically has physical custody of a child, both to unmarried parents, unless a court orders otherwise. So this one, I did the research pertaining towards the Indiana case again, and that one was the one that I was looking for that I told you guys was like closest towards the California breakdown that I got from my locals. Let's see. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, so Blasio, because California law grants legal and physical custody to an unmarried birth mother, this means that the mother has the full authority to exercise physical and legal custody rights over the child. The mother is responsible for the child's living arrangements because decisions in education, healthcare, and all the other parameters that fall within that. That one's going to be the California standard, and the other one that I was like, well, this one that I was literally just like reading into, This one is the one that is adjacent for the Indiana standards. Identifies with whom the child resides. The mother automatically has physical custody of a child, both to unmarried parents, unless a court orders otherwise. So the standards for Indiana literally are extremely like similar. So unless the freaking, let's see, the, oh gosh, unless there's like a court proceeding to decide the custody arrangements prior to the separation, the mother technically automatically will have full custody to literally control the aspects of the child's life until a court proceeding is set to cover the aspects pertaining towards the rights of the parent and the right to who will be the sole parent, what will be the joint parenting agreement, and who will be the custodial and non-custodial parent. The legal custody parameters are as stated, identifies who will make major decisions about the child's education, healthcare, and religious training, as well as who has access to the child's school and medical records. Joint and legal custody parameters are as follows. Joint legal custody means parents share the legal custody rights. Parents can establish joint legal custody by completing Section F of the paternity affidavit and obtaining a genetic test from an accredited laboratory that shows the man is the biological father. A home paternity test is not legally sufficient, and submitting the test result to the local health department within 60 days of the child's birth. If the parents fail to provide the genetic test results to the health department within 60 days of the child's birth, or the test proves the man is not the biological father, the man who signed the parental affidavit is still the legal father of the child, but the joint legal custody agreement is void and the mother has sole legal custody. Alright, you guys. Love you guys. I am like literally breaking a mega sweat from the freaking beaming sun flow, and then it's like 70 degrees today too, so it's like it's a tad freaking warmer than usual, and I have this freaking sweater on and it keeps me like super freaking warm. Like I literally love it, but between the freaking sweater flow and the freaking sun freaking beaming flow, I'm like literally like sweating. But I'm going to add in the closing freaking statement, so go check out our other videos pertaining towards custodial and non-custodial rights. That way, in case you're going through any of these type of legal proceedings already and you're working towards understanding what your rights will be moving forward, the parameters that fall within. I covered the rights and procedures throughout the case proceedings, aspects that you'll need to know while going through the case, and aspects pertaining towards it, such as, major cases that literally are kind of just more towards gaining an understanding of what these rights and laws truly regulate, and so much freaking more. So go check those out, you guys. And know that I freaking love you, and I'm so that you guys were able to tune in and gain some great insight and information. Also, go check us out on social media. We are on Instagram, DKHLegalAid, X, DKHLegalAid, TikTok, DKH.legal.aid. And I will see you guys on the next one. Love you guys.